Welcome to Messier Mantra. I'm your host, Mike Messier. We have a return guest. She's an actor, she's a producer, and a writer. She's a great person, and her name is Abigail Lucas. Abigail.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah, it's great. We had a great conversation last time, and we're going to get right into it. And so, as an actor, tell me about your process. We'll start with taking on character development. Tell me more about that. Tell me your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I take routine classes at the Michael Chekhov Actor Studio, Boston, with Scott Fielding. And I went through some time learning Meisner technique and Chekhov technique. Excuse me. And it's really interesting. I use a lot of Chekhov is what I use to bring to a character. And it's difficult for me to describe, but I'll do my best because it's awesome and I love it. It's almost as if, like you're trying to, when you become another person, you're almost shifting your energetic structure in order to, either take on aspects of another human or to bring out aspects of yourself that really represent another human.
Right.
And in reality, what you're representing is someone else's psychology. And through that psychology, you're responding in behavior, which is what you and I are doing basically right now.
Sure.
And that's really difficult.
Yes.
It's probably the most difficult thing I do in my current life right now is acting and character. Because we're so stuck in who we are, in our own little shell of how we've created and how we've learned to survive in our world. So some of the tools that I use is, it's very sort of, it can sound non-tangible, but like I might shift into different spaces within my body. I'll put a lot of awareness on trying to get into my body so then my mind isn't working.
Okay.
Once my mind is working, then I'm thinking and I'm predetermining what I'm saying, whereas I really need to be, like, the words are the last thing. So it's trying to sort of understand how to get into another person through my behavior and through my energetic being, as opposed to through decision making.
And I was going to say, what I'm hearing, what I'm going to add to it a little bit is like, you want to eliminate the censors and eliminate the filters, almost like. If I'm thinking that I'm Mike, but I'm playing, Brian the post office worker, and then what would Brian the post office worker say to this customer who's being rude to them? Or, if Brian the post office worker wanted to ask out his coworker, what would he say? But just shutting that stuff out, which is hard.
Very hard.
Right, and then kind of just asking the coworker out or dealing with the rude customer, whatever this hypothetical character is doing.
So I might make decisions in my discovery process. So I might say, okay, Adam the postman.
Yes, well, I was using Brian, but Adam, sure. Right?
Okay, Adam.
Yeah. He doesn't even know who he is.
Yeah.
I'm Brian, the post office man, playing Adam, the post office man. Who am I? Yeah.
Right. So Adam, the post office man, might be, coming from the fact that he just broke up with his girlfriend.
Right.
So I'm going to come up with something that that stimulates some kind of sensation like that. So I might, decide that might feel like my stomach is in a rock.
Right.
And that sensation, and what does that feel like? And then I'm going to go into my practice and say everything through that sensation, not through anything else, and just see what happens.
Right.
And some things might work and some things might not work. And then I might think that ultimately Adam the postman is, even though he came from breaking up with his girlfriend, he's actually a very light and happy person.
Right.
So I might, on my next rehearsal process, make a choice that, okay, in every moment, Adam the post office man is getting lighter and lighter and lighter, because that's the kind of person he is. He's a light person.
Right.
And I'm going to speak all those words through getting lighter and lighter and lighter. And then through that discovery process, some things might work, some things might not, and then maybe they merge. This light Adam also has a rock in his stomach.
Right.
And then the two merge to make a character.
Interesting. And I was going to say, Adam, the post office worker, is normally light and friendly, but if he just got, broke up with his girlfriend, whether it was him breaking up with her breaking up with him, mutual. But now he's having a bad day.
Right.
So he's normally a light and happy guy.
Sure.
But now he's not. So how do you portray that? So he's not Oscar the Grouch all the time.
Exactly.
But today he's having a wrecked day.
Exactly.
It gets complicated.
Gets very it gets yeah, it's very layered.
Right.
You know, so he's actually, yeah, like a light, happy guy having a really bad day. And what does that look like? How does someone behave under those circumstances?
Right.
What is his psychology? And it's that discovery process that I do.
You could almost take it to the next level. Well, you would take it to the next level. It's like, you know, he's a great happy guy, but now he's having a tough day. Does he leave that on the surface? Like,
Sure.
Does he cry? Does he get angry? And people say, what's wrong, Adam? Well, my girlfriend broke up with me. Or is he in denial? Or is he not registering or not sharing that
Right.
information of hurt and betrayal and sadness and, you know, unforsaken love, whatever, to his co-employees or to the customers? So.
Yeah, and I sort of try to not use my mind to make those decisions.
Right.
But more try to discover what those decisions are.
Okay.
I guess is kind of the basic core of how I work. Is it's all a discovery process. Rehearsal is a discovery. You know, it's not a performance. When I get on camera, when I get on stage, now that's the performance. But everything leading up to that is really just a discovery process.
Nice. Let's see if we can use a nuts and bolts example. Like
Okay.
take a character you've done on stage, you know, play a performance or in the film. Last time we worked the Messier Mantra, you had Choice. It was a film that you acted in, but also produced. But maybe there's a theater piece or something that we can talk about. You can tell us like how you went through it. Is there?
I can use the character from the film.
Okay.
Okay, so one of the things I imagined is there's sort of a tool I use that's very polar opposites.
Yes.
And I feel they are two very sort of basic parts of humans. And one is humans who are expanding constantly, and one is humans who are sort of contracting constantly. And that's sort of like how their energy moves inside of them.
Yes.
Are they expanding or are they contracting? And I'll produce those behaviors in my body to really get those sensations. So I'll expand or I'll contract. And in Choice, I felt like Sarah is really a contracting person.
Okay.
Not only is she contracting in her character, I mean, she's kind of this writer. She's sort of, you know, she likes to smoke by herself. She's not really super social. Not like I'm saying that about anyone in the world. They're like that. But I felt like that was kind of the essence of her character. She was kind of a contracting character.
Yes.
In addition, she just had an experience, which is probably going to make her contract even more. So a lot of my preparation leading up to how was I going to play Sarah was to experience myself contracting at all moments.
Well, let me just jump in. Contracting is like self-defeating behavior or sadness or?
Literally almost like my energy is contracting.
Okay.
So instead of, you know, expanding and opening in the world, my whole behavior and psychology is getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller.
Right.
That kind of experience, you know, like everything that I'm doing is just smaller.
Okay.
And that's how I sort of entered into her character.
Into Sarah, the character. Yeah.
Does it sound totally out there?
No, because I can relate to it. I'm just trying to, you know, help the Messier Mantra. You know, because we're playing our show to not just people who act, but people who might have an interest in it, or just are fascinated by it. You know, because a lot of people, whether it's family or friends, who, or you know, like when I, you know, host this show, I always think, you know, James Lipton and Charlie Rose are interviewing people, and the audience may not even act or do anything, but they're still interested in this process.
Right.
So when we talk about the the contracting and the expanding, tell me about how a different character might work with the expanding. How do you apply that?
Okay, yeah. So like an expanding character, their energy is just constantly radiating outwards.
Yes.
You know, it's not getting smaller, it's getting bigger constantly. Like that kind of person, whereas everywhere they go, their energy is just taking up the entire room.
Right.
You know, I don't think I've actually done a character where I used expanding yet.
Okay.
But I think it would be a great choice for a certain character.
Right.
You know, would be, you know, maybe if I was, I could also use it in a scenario, like maybe I'm, you know, going to the grad school program of choice and I'm so excited about it. When I walk in that door, I'm probably expanding.
Right.
You know, I'm just like, I walk in that door, I'm so just open and everything is expanding big.
Yes.
So I might use that as a tool to get through that scene.
Okay.
You know, the moment I open that door, I'm expanding.
Interesting.
So I can use it in specific moments or specific scenes, or I can use it as sort of an essence of a character.
Nice.
You
I'm
know?
thinking of the film Whiplash with Miles Teller, and I don't know if you saw it, but he plays this kid who's going to this high-end music school, music institution, and he plays the drums. And I'm thinking, like, in that course of the movie, when his character starts going to the school and, you know, competing for the drum position in the band or whatever, he is expanding, and he's meeting a girl, and he's kind of doing all these cool things, and then halfway through the movie, click the dial, he has to become contracting, right? Because
it's really neat that you said that, because I have done pieces, like say theater pieces or film pieces, where I do exactly what you said. I make a choice that, okay, this character up until this point is expanding, and then from this something happens, and then from this point on they're contracting.
Right.
And the dynamic shift of what happens without me even thinking about it is very apparent to the viewer.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of the questions I'm going to ask them, this is great because we just go on these riffs, so to speak, but like, have you ever been in on a movie set, a film set, or a theater piece, or even with your prior work in dancing, like where, you know, people say that kind of that thing where like you have to snap out of character. Like you're so enraptured in this character Sarah or another character or a Shakespearean character, whatever you're in, and you started feeling like I'm thinking that character's thoughts, I'm speaking in an accent or a style of speech that is not my own. And then, you know, mom and dad come out from around the corner, hey, we got you a cupcake, or, you know, we got you, you know, a balloon, or, you know what I mean? Like some non-theater or non-film based person, and suddenly you're in this weird position where I have to deal with this person, which you want to, because they're like your followers, your friends, or your family. But then you can, or it's difficult, or it screws up your character. And sometimes on these film sets, independent film sets, or even big budget film sets, I've discovered that people who are in the business, so to speak, don't even respect the actor's space. Like, you know, this actor's trying to create a character and perform for you, and you're like talking to them about the Patriots game. Or like, oh, you got nice shoes there, actor. It's like, I don't want to talk about my shoes. I want to talk about this expanding and contracting. So how do you deal with that type of thing?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I wish I would have brought this other clip from my character I did that was so my experience. I was so in that character that interacting with all the people on the film set, I was in my character.
Right.
They were wonderful enough to know, you know, I was like, I'm gonna be in this. So whether you're putting the sound mic on me or whatever's happening, I am in my character.
Yes.
And it was a really wonderful experience. I have been on sets where, you know, that hasn't been the scenario, and the other actors or the other folks are sort of talking to you in our normal world, like talking to me as Abigail, not as character.
Right.
And it's harder. It's harder for me to slip back in it again, to come out and go in, and come out and go in. I prefer to actually be in it the whole time.
Right.
You know, like I'm here as this character. This is my focus. For the next 8 hours of us shooting, this is what I'm doing, even if I'm acting really weird or just not saying anything. You know,
I'm on target with this.
Right, or like being in the corner doing whatever weird thing I'm doing, or that seems so different to what all the film folks are doing.
Right.
That's me maintaining what I'm about to do in front of the camera.
Right.
So I also prefer it the way you're saying, but I've seen other people, you know, go in front of a camera, you know, do their scene, and then when they're off the camera, they're talking about what they had for dinner last night. It's hard for me to do that.
It's hard for me too, and every actor's different. Everyone has different styles. I remember a piece that I directed, you know, 4 years ago, and it was like, first, you know, as a producer, I'm losing money on this thing left and right, and then I'm directing as well, so I have my own conflicts. But I noticed that our 4-character piece, everyone really worked hard. And the lead actor, they were all leads, but, you know, the guy with the most amount of lines, I'll put it that way, he was so wake up in the morning, he's intense, and like he's playing a really bad guy. So he comes on the set and he's like really intense and kind of in character the whole day, and he's almost hard to deal with. Although he's a great guy in real life, he's hard to deal with because he's in this character. And then you have an actress. She's one of those like snap, I'm in character, snap, I'm out of character, and it's like. This is a conflict almost as a director because I got this one guy who's super intense, and I got this other lady who's just like
in and out,
yeah. And like neither is right or wrong.
Right.
But it's like, how do we bring these two worlds together?
I think it's hard when you are the actor who likes to be in it the whole time.
Right.
To kind of make that boundary because some other actors or people will start, talking to me and I have to kind of make it clear from the beginning, like, hey. If I'm difficult or whatever from the beginning, just understand that it's because I'm maintaining where I'm at.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember in this piece over the summer, I was this very contracting character. Actually, I play a lot of contracting characters.
Yeah.
It was very contracting, small. She was very insecure. She had a lot of like restriction from her family. Very childlike almost, even though she was older.
Right.
And she had this instrument. She loved this instrument, and so the whole time I'm like, I have this instrument with me, and I'm not on, in front of the camera, but I'm just walking around with this instrument, playing this instrument. And I remember one of the girls on set had to take the instrument from me. And for me, I just was like, like the moment she took it,
right.
I was so in that. And I spoke with her after, and she mentioned how difficult it was for her to take the instrument from me. Because it actually makes me a little emotional. Like I almost started to cry.
Yes.
From her taking this thing that made me feel so okay.
Right. Wow. It's like Linus in the security blanket. Like, this is my instrument. Don't touch.
Yeah.
And then she's, was she the prop master on the
piece?
Yes. Okay, so that's... just to mention that because she's doing her job.
Oh,
she's
totally.
not like someone else who's just give me that thing.
Yeah,
she's like being respectful of the piece and you, but
right. She needed to take,
Right.
And I was like,
Yeah, these are the things in theater and film that people. It's not that they don't understand; they just haven't experienced it.
Yeah.
Or other actors have. But let's talk about the difference between film, and a theatrical piece.
Yeah.
Is there a different way, soup to nuts, just like if you were to have a theater audition and then a film audition, whether it's a big budget thing or something that, Emerson or Brown type of deal, is there a different way to approach the auditions, you think?
Yeah, I've done a lot more film experience. I seem to just naturally, go into those roles.
Yes.
I do feel like the preparation is very different. The audition process is different. The execution process is different. I think they both have their amazing aspects. I'm constantly reading all the time. When I talk to actors and they're like, I was like, oh, when the last time you read a play? And they're like, I don't know.
Right.
I don't necessarily understand. Like especially for theater, I'm constantly reading plays. And in the winter when it's cold and all I want to do is like chill in a blanket and drink tea. Constantly reading, reading plays, looking for monologues, looking for characters that I just naturally connect to.
Right.
That aren't actually maybe necessarily a character for me, but kind of just maybe a little bit of who I am.
Right.
So looking for those, and then when I have them, sometimes it's dialogue. Sometimes it's actual dialogue, and I piece together the monologue. I take out the other person's dialogue, piece it together.
Yep.
And in my monologues, I often try to have some kind of a change or a choice. And I think this is really what makes and breaks monologues.
Right.
Especially if you have one shot up there. If you have one shot up there, and your monologue is really representing the same emotion the whole time, you're not bringing your best self. You know? You want it to have some kind of a change. So say, the person is so happy, they're that you're home, and then all of a sudden, they hear that something really bad happened and now they're upset. That shift is really, I think, important for theatrical monologues because this is your chance to show them what you got. You want
Right.
to show them as many colors as you can.
The range.
Exactly.
And so you think that film is not so much like that? Or?
Film is often a cold read,
Right.
whereas, you know, you're given sides and you go in and read these sides. So it's you're making choices about your character maybe before you go in.
Right.
But you have someone to work off of,
Yes.
which for me is really nice. Because I can just tunnel my energy into that other person.
Yes.
And I have someone to feed off of. Theater, you know, you're just talking to the big open space.
Right. You come into this audition space, and it's usually a stage,
Right.
or you know, sometimes it's even the same. Audition space is the performance space.
Right.
Like if it's a community theater or some type of repertory company theater,
Right.
like you come in, so you at least you get the vibe of like, oh, if I'm going to be playing to this 200-seat room or 50-seat room or black box, at least I know what I'm in for. And, but still, like you said, and
Yeah.
one thing, just so the audience, the sides are like a piece of the, literally like one or two pages of the script at the most usually.
Yeah, so you get sort of a snapshot of who that character is. Yeah, it's like one or two, maybe 3 pages. And often you have a reader
Yes.
who you know, who sits and reads them with you, and there might be a camera taping you.
Right.
And so for those auditions, I read the piece over and over again. I don't necessarily memorize it.
Okay.
Because if I choose to memorize it, then I have to perform it.
Okay.
And I don't really want to perform it. This is not a performance. This
Right.
is a rehearsal more like, you know, this is an audition.
Yes.
Theater, it's memorized. You know, it's definitely a performance.
Right.
So when I go for film auditions, I always am holding that paper in front of me,
Yeah.
always. And it's always single-sided, so I'm not like
Right.
flipping, which drives me
Yes.
crazy, like trying to whatever.
Right.
I always have that paper there just in case I need it. And generally beforehand, I've made some choices. Like I might have decided this character is a contracting character.
Right.
So I'm going to go and read these sides with all of my body energy contracting. Or I might say, okay, this character is expanding. That's the essence of this character. I'm going to go and read these lines while my character is like expanding.
Yeah.
And you know, because you have such a small moment. So
Right.
even if you make the wrong choice about who that character is, I feel like any choice is better than no choice.
Oh yes, definitely. Because
Yeah.
you don't want to go in there and just be like this kind of vague actor,
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I'm sort of, and like,
Yeah.
I'm not really attached to this.
I mean, even if you make the wrong choice, if you nail it,
Right.
you know, the viewer's gonna be like, yeah, that wasn't the right choice, but they definitely committed.
Right. This is someone I can work with and
Right.
direct, and maybe we even bring him or her back in for another round of auditions, which
Right.
happens a lot.
Yep.
You know, like sometimes you have 2 or 3 rounds of auditions. And
Yeah.
I was going to say an acting coach and friend of mine, Ann Mulhall from Rhode Island, LDI Casting, she always says, be interesting. And she does say pretty much what you said, like make a choice, don't go in there without some choice.
Right.
Are you the type, and wow, this interview goes quick. We've only about 5 minutes left. I don't know if you're on here all year, you know, but.
I know, we should just go out for a drink after or
Yeah, like
something.
Cody and Kevin in the studio,
know.
like, get the hell out of here. But when you're doing this auditions, do you write in the margins of your script or highlight the lines? Or?
Yeah, so I always use a pencil,
Yes.
and I do write all over my scripts.
Right.
I often draw lines across for French scenes, you know, French scenes when someone's entering and exiting. I always, when I read it, have a pencil there to write little impressions that are coming to me.
Right.
Some of them might not stick, some of them might. I don't highlight my lines because I guess I would say ultimately I am what the other person is saying. Like all of my behavior is a reaction to what someone else is saying.
Right.
Which is what's happening right now.
Sure.
Like stuff's coming out of my mouth, but all of my behavior and everything is a reaction to what you're saying to me. So if I prioritize my lines
Yes.
over yours, then I'm not really listening to you, I feel. It's subconsciously.
It prioritizes your own words
Right.
rather than the communication.
Right. I mean, it's one of the things that Scott Fielding from my studies at the Michael Chekhov Actor Studio Boston mentioned to me is, if you're going to highlight someone's lines, highlight theirs.
Wow.
You know, highlight their lines, because ultimately they're your character. You know,
Right.
they're why you are who you are. They're the ones who pinch you or make you upset or make you happy or thrill you or whatever.
Yes.
So your lines are the last thing you want to be thinking about. They should just come out of some place.
Right.
And that place is generally a reaction to what's going on or what you're saying.
Active listening.
Right.
That's really
so
interesting.
yeah. So actually, I don't highlight lines. I should know it. You know, I try to know it well enough that I don't need to do that.
I'm gonna go home and like throw away all my highlighters and backpacks in my car. And, where's that highlighter?
I highlight in a lot of other ways. Don't get me wrong. Tons of other stuff, but not film scripts.
Nice.
Or theater scripts.
That's really cool. I like that approach.
Yeah, I don't highlight.
Isn't it interesting, like, you know, just talking to another actor, you learn different things, and like suddenly, like, everything you're saying can kind of almost, you know, adjust my dial a little bit. Like, oh, you know, like Abigail does not highlight her lines, or she's not really, you know, hung up on memorizing these lines as I've been. Maybe that's been something that I can adjust for myself.
Well, I don't know. As you said, it's whatever works.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what works for me. If, you know, if little pieces of it work for you, great. You know, if little pieces of what you're doing end up working for me, then this is why we're sitting here talking, so we can learn from each other. Nice.
This is flowing by. We have about 2 minutes left. Is there another mantra? You know, we talked about the last mantra, which was on the prior show.
Yeah.
Kind of like, you know, take the ball into your own hands, do these projects for yourself, and get your own project going. Is there another mantra you want to share with us?
I don't know. I like kind of the topic of what we just mentioned, that like I am a reaction to what's happening around me.
Yes.
You know, I am a result, or I am responding to everything happening around me.
Right.
That's not really a mantra, but I guess in acting, that's another one. In the one I mentioned previously, which is got to make your own opportunities.
Right.
Is my producer mantra.
Okay.
I guess more like my acting mantra would be, it's all about the behavior of responding to what's going on around me.
Wow. That's very cool. That's very good. We got about a minute left. Is there any projects or anywhere, you know, if people want to be guided towards finding you on Google or a website or anything like that?
Well, my website's in the process. You know, as an actor, I haven't been so great on the technical side of things, so it takes me a while. But I should have one up and running in about a month.
Okay.
Choice should be finished coming up soon, which is the film I'm producing and I wrote and I acted in.
Yeah.
And I'm also directing for Slam Boston, which is really neat. That'll be happening March 22nd and 23rd.
Okay.
So that'll be fun. And I'm in another piece for a grad student at Harvard. So that'll be coming up. And yeah, otherwise just in the audition process for a variety of other stuff down the road.
And people, if they see Abigail Lucas with a K,
yes.
right? Lukas.
It's an old family name.
I like that.
Yeah.
So if look Abigail Lucas online, they find you and say, hey, you know, you want to work with Abigail here. Well, thank you so much for coming back.
Oh, it's such a pleasure to be here.
Thanks, Abigail. Thanks for watching Messier Mantra. I'm your host, Mike Messier, and thanks to our guest, Abigail Lucas. We'll see you next time on Messier Mantra.